pedophilia is an enormous problem. 800,000 children go missing each year in North America and over 8 million worldwide. It is a $99 billion black market sexual trafficking of children, and most of them are underage.
This interview is brought to you by our dear patrons at patreon.com and by Virtual Shield VPN. It's time to get serious about protecting your information, location, and search history from Big Brother and big data internet providers who want to sell it. Use Virtual Shield and check out IdentiSafe, a new groundbreaking feature that includes microphone and webcam blocker that also automatically deletes browser history, cookies, and can even shred files so they're unrecoverable. And use the link below to take an extra 50% off your first term. So this Christmas, visit virtualshield.com to purchase a gift card for friends or get it for yourself and give the gift of internet security. Click the link below. Hey friends, thanks so much for tuning in. You know how much we appreciate it and how much we appreciate you. I have Sarah Westall on the line, and I'm very gratified to have Sarah on. I was recently on her program and was privileged to have a nice conversation with her about a variety of subjects. And in this conversation, we're going to talk about really, I think, the number one problem facing our society and probably facing the global society, and that is what we do to our children, they will do to society. As was said by Pliny the Elder in the 1st century AD, Sarah sent me that quote. Thank the Lord for so many truth tellers out there now like Craig Sawyer and Liz Crokin, and so many moving heaven and earth to uncover the truth about pedophilia, which Putin spoke about. I'll read that quote in a minute. But first, let me welcome Sarah. Sarah, thanks so much for joining us.
Well, hello. Thanks for inviting me here.
Well, it is my honor to have you on, and you know how much I enjoyed being on your program. Guys, you can subscribe to Sarah on YouTube. That's Sarah Westall. Of course, her business Game Changers Radio with Sarah Westall has become very popular. So find her on YouTube and sarahwestall.com. Did I miss anything, Sarah?
No, well, thank you. My Patreon is growing. I have some special content from them that I'm just going to be uploading today. That it's also about pedophilia, which is such a hard topic, but it will be extra content from an interview that I'll be uploading today. So if you are interested in that,
yes,
please go there. Yeah.
Great. So check out Sarah on Patreon, and a special thanks to my patrons as well. You guys mean the world to me, and you're making a big difference to so many of us, so thanks to so many of you. And I just want to say this. Sarah, when I was on your program, I talked about some of the coincidences of Comet Ping Pong and pedophilia, and the DC-centric problem of child sex trafficking is known as Pizzagate, which has been largely dismissed by the horror media, and on a global level, we refer to it as Pedogate. But I shared with you on our broadcast that the big coincidence regarding Pizzagate as it relates to some of these cover-up artists on CNN and other mainstream outlets is that Jake Tapper's wife Jennifer told Washingtonian almost a full year before Pizzagate was even a term, before that story even blew up, she told Washingtonian that their favorite date night restaurant was Buck's Camping and Fishing, and their favorite family restaurant was Comet Ping Pong. And I just asked you to help me sort of process the probability of that. Statistically speaking, in a place as big as Washington, D.C., how could it be that Jennifer Tapper would tell the Washingtonian that their favorite family restaurant was Comet Ping Pong, home of James Alefantis, who's tied into these WikiLeaks Podesta emails and all the coded language about pedophilia, and then CNN has the nerve to tell us we're just conspiracy theorists?
This is how conspiracy theories are threaded together, lie by lie.
I'm telling you, I think it's a huge, huge problem, and where there's smoke, there's fire, Sarah. Your thoughts first on Pizzagate before we move forward on Pedogate.
Well, I got to tell you, I've been covering the abuse of children for a while, and I've been looking at all different aspects of it, and we're really starting to see that pedophilia is an enormous problem. 800,000 children go missing each year in North America and over 8 million worldwide. It is a $99 billion black market of trafficking, sexual trafficking of children, and most of them are underage. So we have a major issue, and what we're finding is that people who are, pedophiles are trying to maintain their position by creating a system of powerful people that can protect each other. And it's broader than that. It's the whole black market, which is a multi-trillion-dollar market, which is, we're talking about, drugs and organ trafficking. And this is not a secret. I have very well respected people that come onto my show that talk about the problems are really growing in pedophilia. So the Pizzagate thing isn't surprising, because when you look at our, the 800,000 children that are missing, and you look at our child welfare system, where we have over 50% of those kids are sexually abused in the system. I just did, I did an interview with a woman that is producing Foster Shock, which is something everybody should go look at. You can see it on my show. But anyways, or on my channel. Anyways, it's a major problem, and we've just been ignoring it for decades. And now we're seeing it starting to affect all aspects of our community, everywhere.
That's 100% right. And in a minute, I'm going to read for you one of these, I think one of the most smoking gun Podesta emails that certainly suggests coded language referring to pedophilia. But before I do that, let's talk about the global issue, Pedogate. It was Vladimir Putin, who said in a speech just a few years ago, which I covered in my video, Putin just exposed the plot to destroy America. He said, and I quote, "The excesses and exaggerations of political correctness in these Western countries indeed leads to serious consideration for the legitimization of parties that promote the propaganda of pedophilia," end quote. Now, before you respond to that, Sarah, I want to play for you guys this soundbite from Tom DeLay, who told Newsmax TV, while Hillary Clinton was still at the State Department, that there's a secret memo coming out of the Justice Department that seeks to legalize 12 perversions. Listen to this.
Well, we've already found a secret memo coming out of the Justice Department. They're now going to go after 12 new perversions, things like bestiality, polygamy, having sex with little boys and making that legal. And not only that, but they have a whole list of strategies to go after the churches, the pastors, and any businesses that tries to assert their religious liberty. This is coming, and it's coming like a tidal wave.
All right, so Congress, I just want to get this straight. So you are aware of a Justice Department memo that says there will be an effort to legitimize or legalize bestiality, pedophilia, and, as you put it, perversions?
That's correct.
I'll pause it there. It's just stunning, and you know what I've been saying since Trump began even running for president, Sarah? I've been saying that if we want to put an end to this stuff, we have to make sure that Hillary Clinton isn't in the White House. Because if she had gotten into the White House, it would have been business as usual for the pedophiles, the child sex traffickers, the drug runners, more war probably with Iran and Russia. And I'm not saying Donald Trump is a panacea, nor is he a savior, but he's a whole hell of a lot better than that witch. Your thoughts on these 12 perversions being legalized?
Well, I think that it's a broader problem. I think that we are being attacked on all fronts from other countries. I mean, we can't be naive into what other countries want to do to the United States. We're a world empire, so people want to take us down, right? And so there's infiltration everywhere about taking us down and going after our values. This is clearly going after our values. It's also very obvious that we have people who have these kind of perversions who are in position of power that want that to go everywhere. And I have to stress, this is not a left-right issue. There are not massive people on the left or right that believe in this stuff. These are people who think differently than the average American. And that's where I think we need to come together and say, okay, this is not right. Hillary Clinton, as far as I'm concerned, was evil. And people are waking up on all sides. I mean, people on the right already have woken up because they just know it's been pounded into them and they know. But people on the left are too. They know that she was a terrible creature and they know what she was involved in. Those emails that from Podesta and company, the FBI know those are known pedophilia symbols. It's really obvious. It's not a conspiracy theory. They make us look like we're nut jobs, but it's not. When you look at, and that's why I keep going back to the results of all this stuff, the children who are suffering. We have 1 in 3 girls and 1 in 5 boys who are sexually molested, and these are multi-reports coming around from all over the world showing this is going on, and it's growing. And, children or people who have been sexually abused, they die 20 years earlier. They are so mentally tormented, and it screws up our communities. Now they're intermingled everywhere, and they're mentally unhealthy, and that's what we're dealing with. The drug problems, I can go on and on about some of these problems that we're having, and it all stems from the fact that we're not caring about our people. And this is the perversions are just such a obvious, blatant example of that. And there's many other blatant examples of that where we're not caring about our people. And it's not the business schools per se that are doing it, because they're teaching businesses that the number one important asset that you have in your company are your people. And we know that our people are our number one asset, but we are not acting that way. Our children, it's like we completely have ignored them. And, our veterans, we have suicides that are off the chart. That we have more suicides now from our veterans than we had in combat deaths in Vietnam and in World War I. It is off the chart, and our mass media is not talking about it. We just have, we had our health issues. I can go on and on about all these different issues that we have in society, but it keeps pointing back to the fact that we're just not paying attention to what's important, and that's our people. Because if we invest in our people and the mental health of our people, they will make things right. It's amazing.
No, you're right. And one of the things that I've noticed and talked a lot about is the fact that China has 3 times our population, and it has, I think, half as many people incarcerated as we do in this country. And one of the things you'll notice is that when one of these teenage kids gets into trouble and gets tried as an adult, and I'm not talking about murder or anything, I'm talking, drugs have become such a huge issue in this country. They're more than eager, this system is more than eager to put people in the penitentiary. There's never a shortage of money to put people away in a penitentiary, a federally run prison or a state-run prison. But there's never any money to get these kids some intervention or treatment or, send them to a boarding school. There's never any money for those types of programs that could save a kid. But there's plenty of money. There's endless resources once they get into the system to ship them off to prison. There's something fundamentally wrong with that, and I think China does it differently. And in fact, I'll give you one quantifiable about that. I once saw a video about video game addiction in China where kids were so addicted to video games and became so obstinate to their parents and stopped going to school and stopped doing their schoolwork. And we're talking about massive addiction, 24, 48, 72 hours straight, verging on dying from playing video games. They have programs in China where they take those kids and they put them in these camps to sort of, like military camps, to sort of reshape these kids and sort of get them back. We don't have that in this country. We certainly don't have it as sponsored by the federal government. I'm not suggesting that's a great solution. I'm saying that what isn't a solution is taking kids who get into trouble and shipping them straight to prison. And that's what we do best in this country.
Or our child welfare system, which is a complete joke. That's why we have such a hard time paying our taxes, because it's going to a black market to do all these other nefarious activities instead of caring about ourselves and our people. But you're right with that. Those video games, there was a report, and I just don't have that on the top of my head right now where that was from, but your brain actually develops differently. They were looking at children's brains that were using video games for, like the Chinese kids that were addicted to it and using video games for extended periods of time, and their brain isn't developing. And if your brain doesn't develop at that time of your life, you will be dysfunctional for the rest of your life. And so they took them out and they put them in like these desert areas or forest areas where they had absolutely no contact with video games and things like that, and their brain started to redevelop these connections that we so desperately need. But that's what we're training our kids. We're going to have kids with brain issues.
Yeah. No, I know, and we're seeing it. We're seeing signs of it everywhere, and we're seeing so much chemical abuse, and we're seeing, of course, all of these legal opioids, and the big pharma drugs are in the schools. Kids are on Xanax. Kids are trading pills that they're finding in their parents' medicine cabinets, and then if you get caught with those pills at school, then you're in the system. It's just a big cluster F. You know what I'm saying? Our whole country seems to be run by the corporatocracy, who cares more about the Rothschild, Rockefeller, CFR, and the talking points of the Council for Foreign Relations than it does about the Constitution and the Bill of Rights and liberty. And, that's not just puffery. It really brings us full circle to the Pizzagate thing, where CNN wants to do a report and interview James Alefantis and talk about how Edgar Welch walked into Comet Ping Pong to quote-unquote save kids because he's a lunatic who heard a rumor on the internet, and he went in and fired a couple of shots, one of which just magically hit the Comet Ping Pong server, which James Alefantis will gleefully show you in this clip.
Alefantis says he wouldn't have found anything exciting. And here is our bags and coat closet. The bullet went into our computer system. After police arrived, Welch surrendered peacefully, saying that he was trying to rescue the children.
And again, it's just more magic bullets from the mainstream media, just like the one that took JFK's life. And we're supposed to just swallow it, hook, line, and sinker. And if you want to question any of these Podesta emails like this one, do you think I'll do better playing dominoes on cheese than on pasta? Or the one where it says, last night was fun, still in the torture chamber. If you want to question what the hell these people were talking about on any level, you're just a conspiracy nut.
Well, and I don't understand why we can't just get serious about these issues. We're idiots as far as not we, but the mass media, and they're focusing on vanilla stuff. They're getting people to argue over things that are not important while our communities are crumbling around us. We have to get serious about this.
Well, and many of us are, and I think that Donald Trump is getting serious about it. We know Scalise was getting serious about it, and then a would-be assassin attempted to take his life. You recall that? Steve Scalise put out a video, a PSA, talking about the problem of child trafficking, human trafficking, in every community, he said, throughout the United States. It's a real problem, and quote-unquote, enough is enough.
And it affects millions of victims throughout the world. While many of us would like to believe that this issue isn't something that affects us, the sad truth is that human trafficking is a real problem plaguing each and every community here in the United States. Enough is enough. This week, the House took strong actions to stand up for the victims of human trafficking, passing tough bills to provide them protection and to target child predators. Let's work together to get these bills signed into law.
And then an attempt was made on his life at a congressional baseball game, Sarah.
Well, I know, and that's why we need to have everybody coming together. That's why I did really like that hashtag on rig attempt that Cynthia McKinney's still pushing that, with Robert David Steele. She has a newsletter and she's putting it together and going forward. I don't know exactly how they're working together, but it doesn't really matter. It's to bring everybody together. There's also an organization called Represent Us that was started by professors at Northwestern and Stanford, where it did a lot of research on the fact that it doesn't matter what we believe as people. They vote however they want. The Congress and the Senate just still goes in whatever direction they want. It really doesn't matter what we think. And so the point is that we have to take back this country, and we have to solve, at least at the local level, what we have to say, because you're saying every community, and that's true, every community has trafficking of children and drugs and everything else. And we should be saying, not in my town. Every local police, and city administrator, and there has to be good people in that town just saying, this is not happening in my town, and clean it up town by town and take care of our children first.
That's right. What you do to the least among us is what you do to me. I'm paraphrasing Jesus from the Bible, and it takes me back to that original quote we started the show with. What you do to the children, they will do to society. And, I think here's the thing. People in this country are losing faith in the mainstream media, whether you're on the left or the right. If you have two brain cells to rub together, you can watch The Morning Joe on MSNBC, and if you know anything about history, you'll quickly come to realize that Mika Zabrinsky is the daughter of Zbigniew Brzezinski, the author of The Grand Chessboard. And if you follow the work of quote-unquote journalist Andrea Mitchell, you'll soon come to realize that she was once, maybe still is, in the process of a divorce, married to former Federal Reserve Chair Alan Greenspan. And then you take a walk over to CNN, and we have Wolf Blitzer, who used to, I think, was an errand boy for the ADL. I mean, it's just endless. These people are not aligned with truth, and they're not aligned on the side of the American people. They're not aligned on the side of exposing pedophilia.
Well, we're just rotting at our core, and I think it's really important that they get their heads out of their arses, as as you hear Richie Allen say all the time. I like that when he says that. They need to get their priorities straight, and they don't have it straight because they are a powerful network of people that are focused on themselves and the abuses and getting themselves rich and doing the nefarious activities that they're doing. And if they are participating in the black market, the illegal drug trade, the abuse of children, they need to get out of powerful positions in our country, and we need to bring these people to justice because it's too important. We have to focus on making our country healthy. And I mean, I could go on and on. You know, you got the health problems that we have with autism off the charts. I mean, what's going on there? We know that there are treatments that can help autism and cancer that have seen promising results. Now, they're not perfect and they're not to where we need, but why are we not investing money in figuring out how to take those treatments that have such promising results at the beginning, and they're actually curing a small number of people, and figuring out how to use that across the board? You know, I mean, there's just so many things that we're focused on the wrong priorities. And I mean, I can't, with the veterans, what happens with the veterans, with the suicides being off the charts. And in fact, our elite, like our Navy SEALs and our elite teams of warriors, their suicide rate is absolutely astronomical. It's way higher than the suicide rate of our normal soldiers. And they're going in the battle so much that they have to have health experts on the field with them and dogs and things to make sure that they don't have a meltdown. I mean, that's how far we're pushing our soldiers. And so now what they're doing is they're putting mercenaries out into the field because they're a heck of a lot cheaper long term, and politically they're cheap because you can do the black market thing. You can do whatever you want worldwide and fight whatever you want worldwide. You don't have to answer to anyone because you have your black market money. You have your elite war propaganda machine going on, and you just pay to have them done. And if they have mental problems, who cares? Because we just paid for them and they can go away and deal with it on their own. And that's what we're doing right now. And it's a sad commentary. That's the stuff that needs to come to light. When we don't have transparency, when everything is top secret, they can get away with literally murder or whatever they want. In fact, the more nefarious it is, the faster it is considered top secret. And that's wrong. Sure, I believe in top secret for national defense and things that are really important for us, but we have gotten so out of hand that everything's top secret, and now our criminals are flourishing because we have this whole top secret network, and we have a lot of money for them to do what they want to do with it. So it's completely out of control. Now, the thing is that NSA has the data. They have that data, and we know it's been very public that they're tracking everything. And they have the tools. Bill Binney and Kirk Wiebe, those guys that wrote the actual programs, they know, and they are on record that they have the tools to be able to go after every pedophilia, every pervert, every criminal, black market. We can stop all these false flags or terrorist attempts that are going on. We can take it all down in a manner. We dedicate ourselves and we get at that data within a year. We could take it all down. We could clean up our country. We have a long time to deal with our health issues, right? I mean, that's a huge problem. But as far as taking down the criminal networks, we can do it. We have the data, and they are attesting that we can do it in a way that still preserve the rights of our Constitution. We can go after metadata. And then not until we know that it's for sure that there's something going on, or we think that there is, do we go down and figure out who we're actually talking about when we're looking at that metadata. So they have the means to do this. So to say that we can't clean up this country, or to have any politician up there, not doing what they should be doing, is a complete farce, because we have the ability to do it.
Well, let me ask you, you keep using the term we, and I love that because it is we the people. However, we the people have very limited power. And one of the hopes is that Donald Trump is for real. And if you've been following any of the messages coming from QAnon, the Follow the White Rabbit stuff, if you've been following any of this suggestion that there has been a deep state counter coup against the Clinton-Bush cartel, against the Rockefeller Mafia, against the Khazarian Mafia, which would also include the Rothschilds. If you believe there's any truth to any of that, then we, as you say, can take this thing back by having a president sitting in the White House that isn't beholden to these same criminals like Hillary Clinton was. And I'm not so naive as to believe there aren't two different factions fighting, maybe both of which aren't really aligned with the people. But I think Donald Trump certainly is more aligned with the people, ending NAFTA, not agreeing to any international trade deals that don't put America first, as he said when he was running for president. I'm not so naive to believe that he's a perfect person. I'm not saying that because, of course, he's just playing his role. That's what everybody says. I'm seeing quantifiable evidence that suggests he does stand opposed to that Clinton-Bush crime cartel, that CIA cartel that has been in control of this government probably since at least Kennedy was shot. And I want your opinion on that. Do you think that we stand a chance? Do you think that there is a sea change? Do you think that the most horrible people are being exposed?
Well, I mean, we all question that, right? Because we've been dealing with it for so long and so many things have gotten so brazen. But when I talk about I'm talking to those leaders out there, the leaders in the communities, they know who they are. The leaders in Congress, the leaders in the Senate, they know who they are. The leaders in industry of these national corporations, they know who they are. And they're listening to these shows. They know who they are. Get some courage and do what's right. That's who I'm talking to, because they know that this is a problem and they need to have courage, because our children and our communities need us to have courage. I mean, so what if you die for a cause that's right? You can have courage. It's hard to say, be a man, be a woman, be an adult and have the courage to go forward and do what's right. Now, what you said, do we have a chance? I hope to God that Trump understands this. And I see the signs that you do. Now, I don't think he is this, magic guy. I don't think it's all about him. He needs the support in order for this to work. I also think because it is so difficult, he has to play a chess game. But I also think, and I also know the training that he's gotten in the schools that he's gone to, he knows that this is tearing our country apart. So if he cares, then he will do the right thing. And I got to tell you, these criminals, the ones who aren't involved in pedophilia, the ones who aren't involved in human trafficking, they might be doing some drug running, or they don't like it either. They know, making money off of drugs or making money off of money laundering. No, I know people, it's still bad, but there's a line that you cross when you're hurting children and killing people, organs and drinking kids' blood and all the crap that I'm hearing. That is a whole nother level of abuse and just wrong. And even the bad guys who aren't really bad guys, in comparison, there's super bad guys, and then there's like drug running and some other things which can still be bad guys. But even those people know it's wrong. And those people who are inside that scene need to help out.
Yeah, I think you're hinting at sort of the Luciferian component sort of that is at the top of all this, child sex trafficking. You mentioned drinking the blood. I'll mention Marina Abramovich and her spirit cooking, which is also referred to in the Podesta emails. These people at the very top appear to be Luciferians. They appear to embrace a satanic component that once you come to realize what their spiritual beliefs are, you're horrified. It's a wake-up call. And I think there's a spiritual wake-up call happening on planet Earth, and I want to just come full circle here and ask you about Vladimir Putin. I often hear people say that Putin also is beholden to the Rothschilds, and he's just playing his role just like Trump. And then I stand back and I look at the quantifiables and I say, well, maybe that's true, but here's what I'm seeing. Putin is a very smart guy who remembers the Rothschild hand in the Bolshevik Revolution when they killed the Tsar and his family. And he probably doesn't want the Rothschilds to completely take control and destroy Russia. So now there's a resurgence of Christianity like never before seen in Russia, Orthodox Christianity, under Putin, who is a Christian. That's a quantifiable. Christianity stands opposed to those Zionist ends and what the Rothschilds stand for. By the way, NATO is also surrounding Russia and has been now for decades, breaking treaty after treaty. Is Putin for real, and do you think he and potentially Donald Trump are standing in opposition to this, for lack of a better word, Zionist plague?
Well, I sure hope so. I do have to say that someone who's actually a Christian and really believes in the Christian values, it's fairly pretty much aligned with just good ethics and being a good person. You know, I was raised, my mom's a Eucharistic minister, my family had acolyte every other weekend. My husband's father's a deacon in the Catholic Church. And so I was always raised, I'm not a churchgoer in the same way that people see that, but I do believe that I am more I follow the beliefs and the teachings of Jesus, if you will, more than the average Christian. I really do. I wish that you could almost take those things that Jesus taught and just take that out of the Bible and teach people, because he was really an amazing person. But, I look at Christian, if you really follow the teachings of Christianity, I believe, and what I've always been taught, it's just love, right? Follow love. And it manifests itself in many different ways. And love is also about being very disciplined and making sure you do good things for yourself and and others and for your family, and have responsibility and all those things. So that country, if it's having a spiritual awakening and viewing it like that, then of course they're going to look at themselves first, because their priorities are first. But they are also going to have a different view of the world. So I'm really hoping that is what's going on, and I'm really hoping that that's what Trump. Now, I only have hope, and I can only look at things they're saying and things they're doing, and I've seen some things that Trump has done that I don't really like, and I've seen other things that I really do like. But he can't come in and just, do this clean thing and do all these things without being taken out. I don't think it's possible for him not to have to play chess and to do things in a very strategic way. It's not possible. So can he make some major headway, and can we clean this up? Yeah. And in fact, with the NSA data and with the proof that we have, he can move pretty quickly behind the scenes.
Right.
But if he does it in a careless way and isn't strategic, he's going to be taken out. And that's why, we don't know. We just hope. We have to keep looking at the signs. These indictments that are coming up, that's a very promising sign. It really is. And I'm hoping that they're being smart and they're using this NSA data. And we got to see people locally, though. They got to start, I keep saying, not in my town. We have to start seeing people behave that way. This is not happening in my town. Start protecting the kids in your own town. Get rid of those traffickers. If you get rid of the base, they don't have anybody to use. And like I've heard other people, the theory is once you lose the military and the police force protecting the 1%, protecting the people, and 1% isn't even really a good way of saying that, because not all elites, it's a 1% of 1%, and it's the nefarious activities. Once you stop having the military and the police force protecting those activities, they can't do it anymore. They're done. They're toast. And that's what we have to see. We have more power than we think we have.
Yeah. No, I think people are waking up to that. And what we need are some good guys, some white knights in our camp, just to help us win back the rule of law. And so those indictments you talked about, those sealed indictments, which now number over, I don't even know what the count is at anymore. I think it's over 2,000. Those sealed indictments, if the people named in those indictments are the right people, the right criminals, the hardcore criminals, if the Podestas are on there, if God help us, God willing, Hillary Clinton is on there, and so many others that have helped, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, so many people who have helped destroy this country, if those names are on there, oh boy, it would just be, I'll tell you what, it would be a great new day, a bright new day, a happy new day in the United States for so many of us, just to see a return to rule of law. And, as I said to you too, by the way, on your show, Sarah, I mentioned that the mainstream media doesn't want closer ties between Russia and the United States, because the mainstream media represents the CFR and that globalist ideology. So they don't want Putin and Trump to have closer ties. And as you and I discussed, it was the close ties, or at least the ability for Kennedy to pick up the phone and call Khrushchev during the Cuban Missile Crisis, that saved the world from a nuclear exchange. Because both of the presidents had joint chiefs sitting behind them saying, push the button. So they picked up the phone and they had a conversation and they saved the world from annihilation. So I'm very hopeful that Trump is in the White House and Putin is in the Kremlin, and hopefully Hillary Clinton will soon be in jail. Because one last thought here, and I want your thoughts on it. I think we the people in this country are getting sick and tired of being told by the mainstream media that every time we see smoke, there might be fire, they say, you're suffering from delusion. You're delusional. Just like the Las Vegas shooting. All these witnesses say multiple shooters. Police scanner recordings indicating multiple shooters at a variety of different hotels and casinos. The word delusion is characterized by or holding idiosyncratic beliefs or impressions that are contradicted by reality or rational argument. So when you read an email about would I do better playing dominoes on cheese than on pasta, and the mainstream media says you're delusional to think there's anything there or that it's related to pedophilia in any way, it takes us back to the crap we were told about when JFK was shot. You have to believe in a magic bullet for most of this stuff. And if you don't, the mainstream media will tell you you're delusional. You and I and our listeners are not delusional. We know what truth is.
Well, you have to be a critical thinker, right? I mean, they're asking you not to be a critical thinker, but being a critical thinker is one of the most important things we can have citizens be. If we're not critical thinkers, we're toast. And they don't want us to be, because you can't have like 9/11 Building 7 that fell, that was across a 2-lane highway. It just, those things are just so obvious. The Las Vegas, it's so obvious that there's something else going on there. And, the JFK, everybody thought that there was something going on. It turned out there was. The facts came out and there was. And there's still a lot of documents that haven't come out. And I bet you some of those will never come out because it's too revealing. But the government has been caught lying to us. And so we have to, that's why transparency is so important. And we have to get that back. And, you were talking about Trump being close to different leaders of different countries. Russia has the second most nuclear weapons in the world. Why would we not want to have a good relationship with them? Same with China. Why would we not want to have a good relationship with other leaders of other countries and keep wars from occurring and do smart things? It's just so basic.
Yeah, it's common sense. It's just common sense. And again, I think the mainstream media in so many ways, the corporate whore media, stands in opposition to common sense. And they continue to try to tell the American people that we're delusional if we believe anything other than the crap they tell us. And people are waking up and people are tired of their mainstream CFR crap. And that's the good news. So many of us on the left and right are all waking up at the same time. And I do believe there's a sea change coming for this country. At least I hope so. I pray so. So Sarah, thanks so much for joining us. Can you tell people about the YouTube channel and the radio show?
Yeah, you can go to sarahwestall.com. I post things about 3 times a week, new content. I bring leaders from all over the world. I try to bring it's disruption, innovation, and the big issues. So I look for things that are changing the world and the most impactful things in the world. And of course, these big issues that we're talking about are so impactful. And then positive things too, on how different inventions are changing the world. Like we really are on the verge of doubling our lifespan, and how will that affect the changes in the world? These are pretty serious changes, and what's going to happen there. So it's an exploration of the light and the dark side, because those are the things that are the most impactful things in the world. And I don't shy away from controversy, as you know. No,
you're right over the target, and I appreciate that about you, because you are a leader. A lot of people know that you're a professor, and so this is what we need from people. We need you hit the nail on the head. Critical thinking is the key. And many kids these days in the high schools and even on into college and a lot of these liberal institutions are no longer learning critical thinking. They don't have the skills, they don't have the tool set, and it is probably the most important asset a person can have to be a free human being on this planet. You have to have critical thinking skills. So you're right over the target there, and we do appreciate your voice, Sarah. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much.
And guys, thank you so much for joining us. We very much appreciate your support. Check us out for Real News 24/7, the antidote to corporate propaganda, at sgtreport.com. Also check out thephaser.com, where I hand select videos from, I think, leading voices in the truth space on a daily basis. And visit us at thelibertymill.com for Real News 24/7. Thanks so much for listening, guys. Have a wonderful week ahead. God bless.
There's, I believe so far this year, there have been over 1,500 arrests related to pedophilia. And you don't see that in the news.